All right, Jake.
Hello, everyone. How's it going?
Are you talking to me? um,
How's it going?
yeah, it's going good, man. How are you?
How we feeling? I'm
Good.
feeling good, dude. Getting the
Um,
first podcast down here for the shirts.
yes, sir. You guys are listening to the first ever For the Sure podcast. Congratulations. Thank you so much for being here. We're just, my name's Dakota,
I'm Jacob.
and yeah, we've had this idea for, I don't know, probably, we thought about
We've
doing it.
been crafting this.
Yeah, we thought about doing this probably middle, maybe beginning of Christmas or before Christmas last year. We decided that starting the podcast in the middle of the season would probably not be the best idea. So we said that we were going to wait till the season. So here we are. But
At the launch, we are exactly 6 days away,
5 days,
correct?
5 days was feasting starts
5
next
days
Friday.
away.
So
5 days away from the first kickoff. It is we're very excited for it to get underway. If you want some background on the two of us here, I am a supporter of Liverpool FC, proud right here out of Columbus, Ohio.
I'm a Spurs supporter. You know, we're wired around the neck at all times, baby.
Yes,
Um,
sir.
Life's great. A lot of optimism. Big Ange gonna come in clutch. Leads to a title this year. Premier League title, baby. I'm calling it. This is my. You could, etch
This your
this on
hot
my
take?
gravestone. Yeah, my hot take. Spurs are winning the league this year.
This
This
year.
is our year. This is our year for sure.
I mean, honestly, I can see a big jump. We'll get to predictions later on kind of where I think both of our teams will play out here at the end of the year. But, I could see definitely a big jump. I think that the way that everything showed up last year with Ange, I think that the style of play fits a lot of the players that you guys have. So I'm excited to see what both of our teams do.
Yeah.
Um, just to go back to everything, we'll kind of give everyone a rundown of us and why we came to this idea of the podcast. Like we said, we've been cooking it up for a while since back in November, December. We talked about it. Um, so Cody and I, childhood best friends. We've grown up. We both love this sport. I grew up football my entire life. I was born and raised Ohio State football and loved it my entire life and still do. Still bleed scarlet and gray. But uh, within the last few years, I think for both of us, this sport, as they call it, the beautiful game, has really, struck a chord with us, and it's become something that I look forward to every day to talk about and every
Every
single
single
week
day.
to look into. Um, and I think like for us growing up in such a town that has so much passion for their sports, Columbus overall has become such a hotbed for, you know, European football here in the United States. You're seeing such a huge fan base growing and so many people care about our team, the Crew. I mean, Cody himself is part of the supporters club here in Columbus. And, I support my Liverpool boys. I have my supporters clubs, but Cody has a supporters club here. I've seen Aston Villa supporters club around here. So there's a lot of fans that, in this area of Columbus have really taken to the beautiful game and, you know, look forward every single week to those matches at 7:30 in the morning, getting up to go have a beer and watch your team play.
The amount
There's
of times
nothing really quite like it.
I've gotten up voluntarily on a Saturday morning to drive across the fucking city for a 7:30 game. Voluntarily at 6 o'clock in the morning, get my ass up,
And I'd do
shower,
it again.
and every single
I
week,
would do it
you
again.
can't ever miss it. I love my shout out, uh, Columbus Spurs, baby. Um, Love watching it with you guys over at Granddad's. But yeah, before we get into all that, let's Jake, how did you become a Liverpool fan? What about Liverpool stood out to you, and what made you want to be a choose? Because obviously we're not geographically inclined like
Yes.
the Crew. The Crew are great. I really didn't get into the MLS until honestly, this year I watched the MLS Cup last year. They won it all. It was a very exciting game, but it's I've been more in the Premier League for a little while, and I know you have as well. So
Yeah,
it's a very different game, but
yeah,
we're obviously sorry, we're geographically inclined, root for Columbus as well as them being good. But like,
yeah.
why Liverpool?
Yeah, I fell on Liverpool actually. Funny enough, was through video games. I started playing FIFA when I in probably 2012, 2013, and 2013, the 2013-2014 season was the year that Liverpool signed Felipe Coutinho, and that player for me was my favorite player to play with in the game, as Cody well knows, as I've
Absolutely.
made him quit many times with Felipe Coutinho. But those those teams and those boys, that those those gray and white jerseys and the red jerseys on the side right there, those beautiful Liverpool kits always drew me in. I think it's that I've always loved the players, and then Mane, Sturridge. I can name you 100 of my favorite players that I've seen there. Sterling was great there. Um, I saw so many of those players that really connected with me, from the standpoint of, I think that those guys are just hardworking lads. That's always why I fell in love with Liverpool, was that I just think that the team very much reflects kind of the way that our community is. It's a family, it's home. Um, it's an honor to play for that team, to support the badge for the shirt. I think that that's always been for me what drew me to that team, was I just think that it's a level of historic energy that comes out of Anfield every game that you watch, and the team really just got that for me. It gave me the same feeling that Ohio State football did. Um, what made you pick Spurs? Why did you fall on that?
So, truthfully, it was back in 2016. I can't tell you what my so and so canon event was that made me. I think I was reading an article about Sonny and Harry Kane and the dynamic duo that they were at their time here. Well, obviously Sonny's still here. Love that man to death. But I was like, I read an article about them, I think, on Twitter or whatever, and or X, formerly known as Twitter. But I loosely, I was like, oh, that was cool, and I like kind of, checked in up on them every once in a while, like, and it wasn't watching every game. I really didn't watch any game, truthfully, for the next couple of years. But it was a 2019, 2019 Champions League final. We
Yes,
were
sir.
living together on campus, and it was Spurs versus Liverpool, and I was like, oh, Spurs are in the final, and they're playing Liverpool, and you were obviously a big Liverpool supporter at that time, so I think I partially did it to kind of give you a little razz. So we could talk shit, and I can give you some shit, but I don't know, it's something about the game we lost. Obviously, it was 2-1, I believe. Um, I want
I
to
can
say,
remember the game, right? Yeah.
I can't remember,
Let's
but
see.
I know we definitely lost. I think pretty sure it's 2-1, but ever since then, I mean, I've been hooked. I
2-0.
2-0.
Mo Salah penalty, Divock Origi in the 87th minute.
Penalties don't fucking count. You know that. If the penalties counted, Erling Haaland would be the greatest soccer player of all time. Uh,
Yeah, we'll get into Holland slander later. Well, don't worry about that. Don't worry
but
about
yeah,
that.
ever since then, I mean, they've kind of just been my team. I still got my baby blue collared sunny jersey. It don't fit me anymore because gained a considerable amount of weight since college, eating ramen
Of
noodles every day.
course.
But I mean, yeah, that's pretty much about it. It was blouses since then, truthfully.
Yes, sir. And I know that both of us got a chance recently to watch some pretty cool events around the footballing world here. Um, Columbus here hosted a few games. We had one at lower.com that I know you went to,
Yeah.
where you got to see Aston Villa play the Columbus Crew, which was a great game to watch on TV. I'll let you get into that,
So
kind of your experience with that and what you thought about that game.
yeah, it was really cool. like Jake said, I'm part of the Columbus Crew supporters group, whatever you want to call it. I believe it's called the Nordecki. But we I saw that the Aston Villa was coming to town, and I was like, well, it's the Crew versus Aston Villa. Like I can't turn down a chance to see my favorite MLS team play a Premier League team. And going into the game, like I really didn't know what to expect. Like obviously it's preseason, so I knew that. I mean, Ollie Watkins was in the Euros, so I knew he wasn't in to kind of be in town. That would have been super dope. Who else? Why am I blanking on every Aston
I
Villa
was really
player?
surprised by who they brought, honestly, because I mean that team was overall pretty stacked. I mean, you
Yeah,
got to see Onana played in his first game
yeah. Onana
for
was great.
Aston Villa.
It
That
was
was
cool to see him
huge.
play. I think he didn't play great. I mean, the Crew won 4-1. Like it was kind of a bloodbath, which was honestly super surprising because it's something Jake and I always joke about. It's you know, you don't really see it very often. I mean, you see it in the preseason sometimes, but like the MLS obviously is a far inferior league to the Premier League. Like it's night and day difference. Like even that's why we never really got into the MLS before this season. And this season was just like, well, fuck it, let's watch some MLS soccer
It's
just because why not?
it's not
Um,
the easiest game for you to just sit there and watch
yeah, like
because a lot
it's
of times just the level of play is just not what you'd want to see. But
see
the
it.
Crew overall actually hold a pretty good
Yeah,
team, and
the
that's kind of
Crew
like I
are the best team in North America, and I we didn't win the Copa America, or the Champions Cup. Sorry, not Copa America. We didn't win the Champions Cup. We were in the final. We got some sort of gonorrhea or some shit. I don't fucking know what it
that
was, but
game was
it
very,
was
very
a
questionable
lot of
from what
question
we
marks
both
about that
saw
game,
about that.
truthfully. But no, the Crew are very good, and we always joke about like, oh, when the Crew are doing really well, we're just like, oh, this team could beat, Luton, or this team could beat, you know, Leicester or something. Like we always joke about it, but it was I was curious. Like you never really know like the skill difference between the two, and I expected the Crew to get blown out, even with not everybody, but it didn't end up going that way. I mean, Villa kind of looked
Yeah.
flat. They didn't look prepared. I mean, they didn't bring all their starters, obviously. So, but I
And
mean, Ross
Cucho
Barkley.
played an amazing
Oh my
game.
goodness, that man. It's only I know that he had his stint at Watford and it didn't go very well, but with the way he's banging in goals and assists, even like like I just went to the game this past weekend. He had two assists. He didn't score any goals, but he had two assists. He looks great. I think if maybe not in England, I don't know if he can ever come back. Because from what I've heard, truthfully, I haven't looked it up too much, but from what I've heard, the Watford stint didn't go very well, and that's how he ended up over in the MLS. But um, I don't know. Overall, Villa just they didn't look ready to play. They have a lot. They, like Jake said, they had a lot of new players. Ross Barkley, he played pretty much the whole game. That was really cool to see him coming from Luton. He's kind of their guy for like their triple promotion or whatever the hell they were going through. That shit was crazy.
And what Leon Bailey was there too.
Yeah,
You got to see
Leon
Leon
Bailey,
Bailey, right?
Onana, Emi Martinez wasn't
Did
there.
Matson play? Ian Matson play too?
Truthfully, I'm not 100% sure. I know Matty Cash came, and
Okay.
if you're a Spurs fan, we don't like Matty Cash very much. So I gave him a good rousing when he
Good
came
boo.
over. Yeah, but I was sitting over in the left corner on one of the end touch lines, so I didn't really get to see him a whole lot. He was kind of on the other side when they played, and whenever he was on my side, they were running the opposite way. So probably didn't hear me, but I was quite close. I was trying. You can ask
It's worth
Jada.
the try.
Yeah, you can ask my fiance. She was embarrassed. So, but it was
Embarrassed.
overall it was a cool game. I didn't end up going to Chelsea and Man City. Ended up playing the next weekend. Not a Chelsea fan, obviously, as somebody who supports Spurs. Um, and then City, tickets. Truthfully, if tickets were like cheaper, like it was fucking $77 to sit up in
No.
C deck. Which, if you don't know, Ohio Stadium C deck is the top of the stadium. You, which is it would have been fine, but it's a 100,000 seater stadium, and you wouldn't have been able to see a damn thing. And it was 4-1, so I'm kind of glad I didn't waste $77 on a ticket to go see him. So But
And on
man,
top of that, I mean, from what we saw, the stadium was pretty heavily leaning towards Man City
dude,
because
it was great. But dude, I have been following the Premier League for 8 years. Yeah, I mean, obviously in Columbus, Ohio, we're not in England or over in Europe anywhere, but like I've never met somebody's like, oh yeah, I'm a Man City supporter. Like never, never, not once in my life. There was so
no one
much
wants to
City
admit
Blue.
that they're a Man
God,
City
but
supporter.
like, wear it with your chest, bro. Like, wear it with your chest. Like, I get it. It's fine. That'd be sick. I literally just did that with baseball. I literally just did it with
Yes,
baseball. I
sir.
started following baseball this year. And you know what? I'm like, you know what? Let me follow a team that's exciting because as a Spurs and Browns fan,
Need some excitement.
it's a tough life. So,
Yeah,
but what did you do? Didn't you went on a fun trip recently, didn't you?
I did. So I've been planning this trip for a few months now. Yeah, I didn't really mention this earlier. We were talking about kind of the foundation for my fandom for Liverpool, but one of my biggest connections with the team is my brother-in-law Justin is a big fan too. And around the same time I started following them was when him and my sister started dating, and we we hit it off pretty well with that, with sports in general. He's not a fan of all the best teams in the world. Like, I'm not a huge fan of the Washington football team, but when it
Or
comes
the Commanders?
to Liverpool and to that stuff, he focuses pretty well on what he needs to do. So I've always had that connection with Justin because of that. So shout out to you, Justin. um, but yeah, the second that we saw that they were announcing the preseason tour for Liverpool, one of the places they had two games. One was in Pittsburgh at the Steelers Stadium. One was in Philadelphia, and they played there. And then the last game of the U.S. tour was in Columbia, South Carolina, at the University of South Carolina, inside of their football stadium there, Williams-Brice Stadium. So my sister is a proud alum of South Carolina, and part of their alumni association was offering tickets to alumni to get first in line to get into the stadium. So the second that we saw it, I sent it to Justin. He pretty much told me, "You get your plane ticket down here. We'll take care of your ticket for the game." So I bought my ticket that night,
Go,
and we got our
go.
spot in. It took a while to get in line. Actually, I think he sat in line for almost 45 minutes in the queue trying to get tickets, but we got them. I flew out the 29th, so about 10 days ago or 12 days ago now. Um, but yeah, we were out there now for I went out there for a week, and on Saturday was when we went to the game, and we drove into Columbia. I ran into fans from all over the place. I ran into a fan from Utah that had traveled all the way from Utah to come to South Carolina because he wanted to see the Reds play in person. Um, we walked around the entire campus, and it was very weird walking around a place that has no connection to a team, and you're just seeing kits of your favorite team all over the streets walking by. You're walking past a Jordan Henderson jersey, you're walking past a Sadio
R.I.P.
Mane jersey, and you're just kind
R.I.P.
of, there's a smile on my face because you're walking around, a city with, proudly wearing the badge of your team and seeing other people like that. And then the atmosphere around the game was crazy. There was there. If you've never been to the stadium outside of Williams-Brice, they have an entire lot all outside. It would have been the west side of the stadium. Yeah, sunset in the what rises in the east, sets in the west. So west side of the stadium was where it was coming. All the cars were lined up at, and I mean, some of the pictures I got of the parking lot were as far as the eye can see, cars lined up. Going in, there's people tailgating like it was a football Saturday. All the way up to like the where the football practice area is for the football team, all the way at the end. It's probably, I would say, a good 500 yards, 600 yards from the end of like the street all the way to where the stadium, where the practice facility is, and it's just wide as like an entire block wide, and they're all just filled with cars of people tailgating and eating. United fans and Liverpool fans all across there because the game was against Manchester United. It was the Rivals in Red series that they had. Um,
How'd
so
that game go?
I it was an amazing game for me. I mean, I sat there. My seats were kind of up high for where we were, but there's
Nah,
not
your
really
seat,
a
you had
bad seat.
great view. You sent me a picture of it. That was a pretty good view. I feel like it
I
wasn't
mean,
too
from
high.
there
It could have been
was
better, obviously, but
77,000 people there to watch that game. It was the most the highest attendance for a soccer game in the state of South Carolina ever. So
jeez.
which was pretty cool. But
South Carolina doesn't have any MLS teams, do they? No.
no, they have Charlotte's
No,
the
they.
closest
Yeah, that's
one,
North Carolina. I was about to say. I
but
don't
it's
know
North
geography
Carolina.
or
But
anything.
there's none in South, and they have it's like it's what the U.S. Soccer League, the USSL, is that what that is? I
Yeah.
think is what it is.
So that's
One of the North American soccer leagues that they have. It's like below MLS. There is a team in Charleston where my sister lives called the Charleston Battery, and they told me it's actually a pretty cool experience. They go to a decent amount of games, and they kind of have similar to what the Crew have with the Nord Deck, where you have like the drum lines and the cop stands with everyone standing up and kind of like the whole atmosphere there. So I think next time I go down there, we'll try to go to a Charleston Battery game. But the game itself was amazing. Fabio Carvalho, rest in peace. I hope he does great at Bournemouth. He's moving on to or Brentford. Brentford. He went to
yeah.
Brentford. But bigger and better things for Fabio. I wish him the best. But he scored a great goal. It was the first one that we saw. And then from there, it just kind of looked like we caught them out a whole bunch. There was a lot of running. And that's kind of my biggest takeaway with what we're seeing from Arne Slot early is that a lot of it's going to be unlocking the through balls and trying to get forward. So a lot of the game itself, we saw a lot of running in behind. There's a tap in goal that was scored too. I just think that it was a great experience. Crew ended up win, or I said Crew. Liverpool ended up winning 3-0. It looked great to see the team play like that. I feel like we had the same conversation that every time we go and see our teams, it seems like always the worst happens. I've gone to go see my Cubbies play twice now in Cincinnati. Both times were not good.
I,
You went to go see the Dodgers. You paid a lot of money for both of those tickets.
yeah. Just
Two
one.
losses, so
Hey, I haven't seen Spurs
it
lose yet,
was
so that was good.
it
The Spurs don't will never
was a
come to
nice.
Columbus as long as Sonny's on the team. He's the most famous athlete in Korea, so they would never come here. Why would they? As much as I would love to, I'm still praying. I'm praying. One day I'm going to wake up that to the news that Spurs are
They're
going to
coming here.
be in Columbus. I don't even care if they're anywhere in the United States. I would drop my whole entire bank account to get there. I don't fucking care. It doesn't matter.
It'd be pretty cool to see. I mean, it
So
was such a surreal experience just to see the team that I'm so passionate about and I do so much reading on and I watch so much games. I watch the behind the scenes. I know about all the players. I I took this on really, especially within the last 4 or 5 years, as it being my top team, the team that I really care about. So I was, I was in the point of almost tears through part of that game, even in a preseason game where it's like,
brother, I
you're,
can't even. I would bawl my fucking eyes out. I was getting emotional at the Aston Villa and crew. I'm like, I love the crew. I've really fallen in love with them this past year. They're a great team. They're really fun to watch. If they sucked, it'd probably be a different story. But just the pride that I felt with, I had chills during the opening warmups. One because the crew, like it was, it's almost like, and this is something that people in England just can't really relate to. And maybe they could. I don't know. I'm not from England. I've never been there. Maybe one day I got to go to London to catch a game in Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. But
that's coming
just
soon.
the pride that I felt just from the atmosphere that we created for that game. Like it was crazy. Like I had chills. Like I was borderline emotional. I'm like I'm about to see a Premier League like team play. Like it wasn't my team, and I don't particularly care for Villa. I mean they're fine. They kind of they, it wasn't it was Spurs' fault last year, but they took our spot in top four. We played like shit the whole back half of the season, so I can't say I didn't see it coming. But um, it's just I was sitting there and I'm like, man, I am feeling this way about the crew who are, you know, one of my favorite teams, but not a team that I particularly have a whole lot of emotion for. Like Spurs, like I will die for Richarlison. Like I will die for Richarlison. No questions asked. He's by far my favorite player. Like if I got to see him, it'd be blouses. I would happily die the next day on my plane right back. I don't give a fuck. Doesn't matter. So
Yeah, you got to see
I'm so jealous,
Mo
man.
with
That's
the
awesome.
Mo with the shaved head, walking
Oh
around
yeah,
that field like a handsome man everywhere.
dude,
You know, it
looks
was
so good with the shaved head though. Like I
yeah,
can't even lie.
it's a new Mo, and I think that like just that watching how the fans all and like interacted with them, even though I wasn't like all the way up down there. You could see a lot of what was going on. Um, yeah, it was. I think that that was kind of the big conversation that me and Justin had before the game was he never would have guessed that they would even consider Colombia as a place to go to. It's just not, it wouldn't be if they do something in the South. Normally, it's Charlotte that gets picked, but the fact that they picked Colombia and then the showing that the university had and the people that showed up and the amount of emotion and just energy that I felt in that stadium, there's no way that they don't. I mean, I think that as long as we have FSG as owners for, Liverpool, they're going to continue coming back to the US because
Oh,
there's such a
absolutely.
strong base here with US fans just because of, the Red Sox connection. And the fact that there's American owners. So I think
Now,
that that's just always.
now, hear me out. I want to ask you a question because this is something that I've been seeing a lot more recently, get a lot of traction, and I know how I feel about it. Um, I actually don't know how I feel about it, truthfully. I have opinions, but also then I circle back and I'm like, okay, thinking about it. But like, what do you think about Premier League games being played in the United States? As an American, what do you think about Premier League games being played in the United States?
I mean, I think that it's the same thing that I feel about the NFL games in Europe. I think that it is great for the brand. I think that to the millionaires, the billionaires that are making the decisions, it sounds beautiful. I think that it's asking a lot for the players. I mean,
I completely
you're
agree.
it's so demanding for them the season that they go through, especially with this new Champions League setup, with having the extra games now. And you're going to be asking a lot because the games that they're going to have, they're not going to have Ipswich Town versus like Leicester City here. It's not going to happen. They're going to end up having some of the top teams that will come and play games over here, and it would just be the travel would be too much. You're asking a lot for the players to do that in the middle of the year even if you're giving them some break. I just think that it doesn't make a lot of sense. I would love for meaningful games to be here. Um, I think that something that would be really interesting for them to do would be even having a separate competition, kind of like what we have with the Club World Cup, where you make expand the Club World Cup even for when that's at and just kind of make it so that it's a more challenging tournament with more games that can be played everywhere. I just think that to do that in the middle of the season to play Premier League games in the middle of the year, it's not reasonable. The US is making it happen. I think that that's very hard from what I've heard from the NFL players is that it's hard for them to do that even with the travel back and forth playing somewhere like Germany or like going to somewhere like Brazil even where it's in the
Right.
same, semi area. It's just I don't know if it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, I think I hate the idea. I want to love it. Selfishly, I want to love it. That would be so sick to have Premier League games in the United States. Like that'd be awesome. And I agree. Like I think growing, and I like struggle with the fact. I think that obviously like the Premier League could always grow in the United States. Like it's very big. Like if anybody doesn't know, like it's very that it's exponentially further along in fandom in the United States than it has been over the past couple of years. Um,
I'll even hot take that. I would say that Premier League is more popular in the United States than the NFL is in Europe, easily.
I see. I feel like I can't speak on that because I'm not European and I don't know. But I do feel like it's like, and that's what I keep coming back to is I completely agree. Like it's tough on the players. Like they're clearly not in favor of. They've openly spoken now about how they don't want to do that. It's a lot on the players' bodies, and my brain keeps coming back to the NFL games that are happening over in Europe, and I think that it's kind of apples to oranges. Like NFL, yeah, it's a physically demanding sport, but nobody can tell me that soccer is not a physically demanding sport. Like, and they play from the middle of August through May. Like they have 3 months of off season essentially. Well, I guess yeah, like 3 or 4 months of off season. Like there's nothing,
And
and
that's if there's no tournaments in
yeah,
between,
like
too.
there's no internationals because that's usually when the international tournaments are, the World Cup, the Euros, and then immediately like the best players on each team are off on their national teams. They don't really get a preseason, which is like good because everybody needs a break. But like NFL plays, 4 months out of the year, maybe five, if they make it to the postseason, and they play once a week. Like it's a lot more accessible for them to do that versus Premier League players who like even in the heat of the season they play. At the beginning of the season, there's Champions League, there's FA Cup, um, bada bing, bada boom, yada yada yada. It get Champions League kind of and Europa League and Europa Conference League. They all kind of tail off and become fewer and far between once the go on. But I think that like there are weeks where Tottenham last year played like 3 games in a matter of 10 days, and that's a lot on a player. Like,
Yeah.
can you ask them, like, actually, you're going to play 3 games in 10 days, and the second game in the middle of the week, you're going to go play that in California. Like, that's across the fucking world from where they are, dude. You can't ask them to do that. Like, it sucks because, like I said, like you said, we would love to see it as American fans. Um, but I just think it's a money grab. I think that these owners and the league need to kind of watch out for the players. And I mean, name me a team who doesn't have an injury to one of their top first team starters. Like you can't do it. Like it's already tough to manage that type of stuff as it is. Imagine adding traveling across the world and playing. And they notoriously complain about the pitches over in America because they sit them up in these 100,000-seater stadiums, 70,000-seater stadiums, and roll out grass 3 days before on top of turf and are like, hey, here you go ahead and play on these non-regulation size fields with shitty sod that we just rolled out last Tuesday. Like
Yeah.
it's a
If
recipe for
you
disaster.
if you saw, I actually saw a video of them putting the turf out on Ohio Stadium,
Yeah,
and
and
if you look at any of those games, the amount of run out that they have on corners, I mean, you're squeezing it. I've seen players like ask cameramen to move on the
yeah,
side there. There's
and
just
they were
that
yeah,
until you have a place that is meant, which there's one single stadium in the United States that was the first one ever built specifically for soccer. And that was right here in beautiful Columbus, Ohio at Lower.com Field, is the first stadium ever built only for soccer. So
I
I
just didn't know
think
that.
that I actually have a T-shirt that's sitting right over there that says that too.
That's funny.
Um, I haven't fact
Heart
checked
of
it, but it sounds pretty
heart of
correct. I mean,
American
I
soccer.
don't know
That's
why
all
they
I'm saying. Heart
I
of
don't know
North
why
American
I don't know why
soccer.
they would print that shirt if it was a lie. So I'll
It's
take I will take homage at their word for that.
I'm gonna
Um,
print a shirt that says Spurs are the greatest soccer team in the world. And
and
because
then
it's on a
it's
shirt,
facts.
it's
Yeah,
got to
there
be
you go.
legitimate. I mean,
It's got
no
to be
questioning it.
facts.
It's funny.
Um, but yeah, I think until they have, I don't know if it'll ever make sense for them to do that, but they especially can't do that. I mean, you have to think of the time that the season's going during. Most of the time, it's going to be during NFL season or during college football season. So the big stadiums that they're going to be able to have host it aren't going to be able to host it unless they do like a middle of the week game, which they're never going to do that
or
in
they're
the
gonna have to
United
do it
States.
at the tail end of the season when everybody's already fucking dead. Like
Yes,
it's
dead and
just
tired, and you have 20
yeah,
injuries, and you're trying to fit a squad in
yeah,
every single time. I mean, there's not a squad depth for that. You're never going to be able to field the squad depth
yeah.
for that unless you're Chelsea and you have 70 players on your team.
See,
That's
hey,
the only
that's
way that you're
maybe they
going to
cracked
be
the
able to
code.
do that.
You get 7 players at each position, you will never be short a team. You'll never be
Yeah,
short a team.
as long as you have like at least 8 or 9 world class midfielders, you can just eat all those up, and then whenever one dies, you just throw a new one in. That's kind
Hey,
of
world class
yeah, I guess
midfielders
it's
that don't work together very well. That is
we've seen that
chef
a hundred
kiss.
percent.
Chef's kiss.
Um,
All right, so
but
moving
yeah,
on.
both of those
Um,
games I think were really cool for us both to be
yeah,
at.
it was honestly sick. I can't wait for their in next season. And like I said, still dreaming that Spurs are gonna come. I know it's not gonna happen, but maybe playing the K League All Stars. Who doesn't want to watch Spurs play K League All Stars at 3 o'clock in the morning? Did you watch? I sure as hell didn't.
Yeah,
But
I don't know who. I know that there's definitely plenty of Korean people who went to that. I could
uh,
almost
the
promise you that.
the
But
halftime
I,
show was sick. Honestly, I watched the video of the halftime show. They get so crazy in Korea. They love their pop bands, dude. It's so funny.
they
It's so funny.
they
I
love
love
their
it.
Sony.
I love it. All right.
Um,
So let's talk about transfers. Let's talk about what's happened. I mean, you don't have a whole lot to talk about. um,
we have nothing
but
to talk about. Let's make this
maybe,
very clear.
maybe. Okay. Start with Julian Alvarez. Obviously, arguably one of the biggest names to leave the Premier League. One of the biggest names on the transfer market. I mean, obviously, other than Kylian Mbappe, but let's not act like we knew that was happening 2 years ago. But
Everyone knew that that was
Julian
happening.
Alvarez leaving City, um, kind of a sour note. Like that was it was weird. Like Pep's a weird guy, but his comments about it, he's like he's a he wants to leave. Like I don't know why he would want to leave, but he wants to leave. So that's on him. Like he'll take care of it. But we want him to be. It was just very passive. He's a very passive aggressive guy in general. Um,
I
but
think that just the whole situation there, he has been such a bright spot in their team, and he's just overshadowed constantly. And I think that it was what was right for him. I mean, like you're seeing a lot of teams do that right now, where they aren't going to hold their players back from achieving the things that they want to achieve. I mean, I can at least speak from the experience of like my own team that, uh, Quahim Kelleher has been a backup his entire career to probably, I'm not even going to say probably because I am biased on this, but I think many people would agree that Allison Becker is probably the best goalkeeper in all of world football. And he
I
has
mean,
sat back
it's
there.
not that I disagree. It's just if you were going to say in the Premier League, I'd say yeah, I agree with that. But all of world football, there's some good goalkeepers out there. But oh,
He's he's remarkable. Is
absolutely.
all I know. And his entire career, you've seen Quahim Kelleher sit back and be second fiddle. He's filled in great when Allison's got hurt. Um, but this year we really kind of told him that if he wanted to step away and find full time football, he's more than welcome to. We would never stand in his way from that. At least of Sunday, August 11th. Right now, he has decided that he would stay. We have not had him leave yet. But you see a lot of teams are not really standing in the way of that. I mean, I think that it's the full time playing, being able to play on a daily basis, and a dream move that a lot of teams are they're of course going to want heavy compensation for it. I mean, I think they got what $103 million for Julian. I believe he went for that much to Atletico, but a lot of those teams are not standing in the way of that. You see a Dominic Solanke leaving and going to Tottenham. Um, that situation, Bournemouth obviously got paid a decent amount.
We
Liverpool
met
got a little
the
bit of
we
a
met
kick
his
from that.
release clause. They had no fucking choice, to be honest.
Um,
I think that when it comes to Julian Alvarez, I think it's just a city effect. I mean, he's class. Like he's class. He's extremely good. He's a very good player. He didn't get as much playing time as he wants because, well, let's be honest, on any other Premier League team, on any other Premier League team, he would be the starting striker, like without a doubt. I think that I think that Holland is good. I don't. I'm not comfortable saying that Julian Alvarez should have started over Holland. I don't think Holland is as good as people hype him up to be, and I think that there is a very real conversation that could be had that he could. I think that Julian Alvarez he's a great player. I think that he could have and should be given an equal chance as Holland, in my opinion. Um, but I mean, when you have a team as stacked as City is year in year out, like there's going to be casualties like that. I mean, you can't play everybody as much as you would like to, and you know, they have a lot of European football. They go deep into every competition, but and he gets time. Like it's not like he didn't get any time. He just feels like as somebody who's a caliber player like he is, like he deserves to be starting every single day in and out. And I completely agree. Like I see no fault in him there. I think that it's just one of those unfortunate situations. Like not a whole lot of other teams can like have are in that spot who would have an Alvarez type of player and be like, all right, well, you're not going to get a whole lot of playing time here, so sure, like go for it, man. Like, and
Okay,
it's not like they
so
didn't get paid anything. So,
I have a trivia question for you. You ready?
oh, okay.
There are three teams that have spent over 100 million euros this transfer window. Three, if
In
I'm
the
looking at
Premier
that
League.
correctly, in the Premier League. Okay,
Well, Chelsea just signed
I want you
Neto.
to name. I want you to name those three on who you think they are.
Spurs, because I know we
Okay.
paid we
Yes.
paid we paid 50. We paid 60. It was 61 to 55. And with the pounds to euros, my brain gets confused. But Spurs, it was like 60 million.
Yes.
Archie Gray, I know was 90, so we were up in that ballpark. Chelsea, obviously, they just signed Pedro Neto for way too
Hmm.
much money, and
There's
they
a
buy
surprise
everybody.
third.
Really,
You have those two. I want to know
who's
if
been
you can
buying?
guess the third.
Who's been buying?
All right, there's actually one more. United is the last one. They just barely got over,
Really,
but there's one more that I was pleasantly surprised actually spent that much, and I did not.
I know there's a
All right,
there's a
I might have even missed it because I didn't go all the way down. There's also one more, and that's West Ham.
yeah,
But
dude.
West Ham
West Ham's
spent a
been they've
lot.
been building, dude. I'm not gonna
Tottenham
say they're
spent
a sleeper.
127 million euros. West Ham was 126. The one that I was saying was surprising to
Let me
me.
guess. Let me guess. Let me guess. Let me guess.
Okay,
Dude, I know. I like. There has been a Premier League team that I'm like looking and I'm like, what the, like, where are they getting all this money from? I'm just gonna throw out a name, and I know it's gonna be wrong. I'm gonna say Palace. I know it's not Palace, but I'm gonna say Palace.
it was a team that you watched live in person, Aston Villa.
Really,
They have spent
really.
176 million euros this transfer window.
They got Ross Barkley. They got Onana. They got.
Onana, Ian Matson, they spent 44. Cameron Archer,
I
they
thought Ian
spent
Matson was on loan.
17.
Oh, I forgot they got Archer. I got to see Archer play too. That was cool. I loved Ken. He was my favorite. I mean, I didn't really feel any type of way towards.
Ross Barkley,
Yeah.
Luis Dobbin, they grabbed too.
Right.
I mean, they spent a lot. I mean, with that being said, they got back 127, so they ended up spending only 48 million. But I
That's
mean,
crazy.
selling Diaby helped them.
Yeah. I mean, Douglas
Douglas
Luiz, Jesse
Luiz.
Juventus. That was
So I
interesting.
mean, a
That
lot of
was
those.
interesting, wasn't it? I feel
I
like
thought that that was a very interesting move,
I
mostly
didn't see that
because
coming at all.
Luis very much to me felt like he was a staple of that team,
A hundred
and
percent. He was
I
their most
think it's going
consistent
to
player
be
last year. Well, okay, not their most consistent, but in the midfield, I think he was class. Like he was the reason that they got to where they were.
You'll see when I get to kind of my predictions on what I think, but I really think that that move is extremely questionable for Villa. I think losing Diaby, from what he showed a certain type of playmaking that they kind of lacked. I think that overall, like, I think that um, having a player like that out there to make those runs is just so important up that wing. So, like, maybe someone like Cameron Archer is going to be kind of at that center forward position, being able to push forward a little bit more, free up a little bit more space. But a lot of those guys, I think that it's going to be really hard for Villa to hold that area down. We're really going to see how good of a player Onana is.
Yeah,
I think that he is really good, but he's really going to have to fill into that role there at D mid. Um, it's going to be a very interesting year for Villa. I
I
think
don't
that
know.
it'll be interesting with all the transfers there, but for at least for what we were talking about, like kind of the big ones that we've seen happen, were obviously Solanke moving. That's huge for you guys. It got you guys a true striker.
I
Um,
love that move. I know a lot of Spurs fans were not excited, and we got clowned a lot online and everything. I think if you watched Bournemouth games last year and you watched Tottenham games last year, I mean, truthfully, I'm not a bright guy. Like, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I know everything about soccer. Like, I don't. But I was like, I heard about that rumor, and I was like, fuck yeah, dude, that's great. Like, I love Richarlison. I think that he's great. I mean, obviously he had some injury problems, but I think the one thing that we're missing in Andrew's system is a striker who's going to get his head on the ball, who's going to get there and be. I'm not going to compare him to Harry Kane because there is zero comparison. Um, but like we need that figure in. We love taking the ball up the wing. Brendan Johnson's bread and butter for like half of his assists last year was taking it up that right wing and crossing it in a low cross to Richarlison, who just taps it in. Like that's what Solanke's so good at. And on top of that, Solanke's ball movement is impeccable. Like he was great. Like he is great in build-up play, which is good because we have a lot of decent midfielders. I mean, James Madison's I love him to death, but he's a question mark. Like he didn't play very well. He hasn't honestly looked great in the preseason. Bergvall is good. He's young. I think that um, you can't I can't come out here and tell you that he's going to be a world beater. Like I don't even think he's going to start. I think that I mean Pep is good. He's still young. I mean we need all the help we can get in the playmaking side of it. Like we towards the end of last season kind of showed we looked flat, we looked figured out, and we couldn't really get around it, and we were confined to the wings in that cross play. And I think Solanke I'm not going to say he's the answer, but I think he's very good, and I think he's going to really help in that sense. At least I surely
yeah.
hope so. And he's a big anime fan, so his celebrations are fire. Um,
I
he
think that
just seems like a cool
he
guy.
I think that always what you guys missed last year was that kind of, nose for goal. It's what every team needs. I think that, from my team, when I look at that, I've constantly told you that my biggest issue is that we really lack that right now. Darwin Nunez has ability. I mean, he has ability out the ass. That dude has more talent than most strikers that I can ever see, but he doesn't have that nose for goal and that want to be great that you want out of a striker in that position. And I think
Absolutely,
Solanke has that. I mean, he has that nose for goal. He
and
puts
that's
his
where
team on his back.
that's the whole thing.
Um,
Everybody's like, I mean, it is a lot of money for somebody who's only had one good Premier League season. Like he's had a good couple of good seasons, but I think he scored 19 goals last year, and that was his season high. Um, I just think that it's a position that we need. I think that I'm it was if it was between him and Ivan Toney, I would choose Solanke 9 times out of 10. I think that I could compromise and say that Ivan Toney would be, the better player. I think he's a little bit more proven. Um, but is he really? I mean, he's good, but I don't know. He was out a whole lot of last year, but when he came back, he did well. I just think, from what I've heard of his off the field antics, Spurs are notorious for blowing up on the inside, and we don't need we don't need a personality like that. That's the last thing that we need. So, but
Yeah.
I think let's get into predictions because we are running
Yeah, we're
this.
running almost an hour.
I
This
didn't think
is
we were gonna go this long. To be honest with you, we're going,
me
man.
either. So I'll kind of start at the bottom. This is kind of the conversation that we have, and I'm gonna try to, like, I think all along this is something that I'll promise anyone that may be listening to this, and to you, Cody, every time that we talk about this, is that um, I will try to keep my bias out of things every single time. I will do my best, and I'm looking at things from a standpoint of what I truly think will happen, because I don't want to be wrong. This is an impossible task for you to be right on this.
100%.
We'll look back on this by the end of the season and laugh that we even thought that these teams would be half decent. But I I'll start at the bottom, and I mean it's going to be popular for people to pick the people that are coming straight up, but this is something that we talked about recently, anyways. Is that I have Ipswich at the bottom. Um, it the aura is not there like it was with Luton. I think for me, I really believed in Luton last year. I saw the team that they were bringing up, um, the way that they play, that style of play, I thought was great. Um, from what I've seen from Ipswich, I think the biggest issue is that their roster is very much built to win the championship. Their roster was, you know, I think that they expected to be a year behind where they are right now. Um, a lot of those guys are taking a huge step up in quality, and it's going to be very interesting to see if they're able to survive. um, Obviously with a promotion team, you're not looking to challenge for top six or anything like that. But
Especially a team
a
that's
good
been
season,
promoted 3 times in a row.
a good season for Ipswich would be comfortably surviving and not having to worry last day about anything. But
Yeah,
I
I fuck with
personally
Ipswich.
don't see it.
I like the story of Ipswich. I do. I do kind of think of them in the same light as Luton. I don't know. You and I were kind of talking about it earlier on the way to golf. I fuck with them. I don't know why. There's something about them. I hope that I'm wrong, but I also have Ipswich going back down. I think you said it earlier when we were talking about it, and I think they're bringing a borderline League One team up into the Premier League, and they're a team from what I've read, and obviously I haven't watched a whole lot of them because they're in the Championship, but they're a team that likes to play offensive, and I mean you saw how that worked for Burnley last year. I think I fully blame Vincent Company for Burnley last year. I think he drove that club into the ground playing an offensive style of football that he knew was going
Also,
to look
talking
attractive.
about that, how many times in your life have you ever done a terrible job and still got promoted? So explain to me how Vincent Company ended up with a job at
He
Bayern Munich.
did he because and that's what I'm saying. He intentionally drove that club into the ground, playing a style of football that he knew damn well he had no business playing in the Premier League because of the team that he had. Like there's a reason why every time a top six team or even a top table team goes up against a newly relegated or newly promoted team and they're facing a low block. It's because they don't have the firepower. You just come up, you don't have that Premier League money to get all the players that you need. Like you need that sustained revenue to bring in the Premier League quality players. And it's almost like I don't want to say it's a death sentence because there are teams that do it and there are teams that do it well. But it's one of those things, man. He did it. He did it. It was basically a resume. He was showing, hey, big clubs, come look at what I can do. And Bayern are Bayern. I don't really know. I don't have many good thoughts about them and how they run their football club. So I'm not
Yeah,
surprised, but
uh, I'll move on to who I
yeah,
have in
yeah,
19th. 19th, and this might be a controversial one, but I have Nottingham Forest.
I agree. I agree. I think it's possible
I
that they get another PSR penalty or FFP penalty. Um, I'm not positive, but I have heard rumblings that I don't know. Let me pull up who they've gotten rid of because I haven't heard anything from them this season. But
I'll tell
they've
you,
been flirting with it for a couple of
my
years now.
thing with them is that every single year we've looked at Nottingham Forest and they have sat there on the brink of survival every single time. The last day of the season, they're sitting there with needles, pins and needles, just seeing if they're going to survive and be able to move on. And I just feel like this is the year that their luck runs out. I mean, they're if you're looking at really who they're losing, Gio Reyna went back. Nuno went back to Arsenal. Nuno Tavares.
Mhm.
Uh, Divock is gone. He
The
went back to
Brennan Johnson
Milan.
list.
You have a lot of players that just aren't there anymore or don't want to be there. We talked about some of these earlier, but just I feel like there's just not enough there for that team to survive again. I mean, they've literally they relied heavily every single year on their playmakers to keep them alive, and I don't think that they did enough defensive shoring up in order for them to keep themselves up. Um, so I have Nottingham Forest at 19, um, and going down. Uh, then the last one is one that we also talked about earlier, and I think
You're
that it
not
is
gonna
a
send two current Premier League teams down, are you?
I
You
am.
dirty dog. You dirty dog. Your
I
bias
have
is showing.
Everton at 18,
Your
and
bias
it
is
is
so
it is
showing.
that
I love it. I mean,
I
honestly,
sit there every year. Like I said, I don't like their management. I think Sean Dykes cannot do that job. They put him in there every single year, and they keep trusting him to do different, and then they lose all the players that they did. I mean, losing Onana was huge for that team. He held down that midfield so well and held them together. Other than that, they brought in Jake O'Brien, like I said earlier. He's going to be their new pairing with Braithwaite. This might be the last year that Braithwaite stays there,
I'm surprised they didn't
especially if
leave
they
this
go down.
offseason.
I
Yeah.
don't know how he didn't go. Um, but you have that. You have Ndai from Marseille that they brought in.
And
Um,
Danjuma's
Ndai,
gone. And Andre Gomez is gone. Yeah, they have Onana's
Luis
gone.
Dobbins gone. I mean,
Luis Dobbins
there's
gone.
so much quality that left their team. And
Jack
then
Harrison's gonna be good. I feel like he can keep
so
them up.
let's see. You're looking at Ndai right now. He was he was at Sheffield United from 2019 to 2023. He had 77 appearances, 21 goals for Sheffield United, okay, in 77 appearances. He then went to Marseille. He's been at Marseille for a year. He had 30 appearances at Marseille. Guess how many goals he scored as a center forward?
Got to be at least some. They've,
In 30 games, he scored 3 goals.
that's
They don't have the offensive firepower to stay up. They might have the defensive ability, but
I
it
think if
you're
Calvert
once
Lewin can
again
figure it out, which we've been saying, everybody's been saying for years, and he just hasn't. I don't think he's got it in him. They got that
you
big ass
are
team. What's his name?
you're
It's not
asking a
Onana.
30-year-old Jordan Pickford to stand on his head again. You're asking for that. You're asking for Jared Braithwaite to take another step up. You're asking for O'Brien, who's what 22, correct? 23 to play like a world class center back right off the bat. I mean, they don't have the quality in that squad, in my opinion, to stay up. I It might be biased. It might be that I just hate them. I hate the color blue, even though my wall is blue. Sorry, but I can't stand them, and I really think that this is the year that it all comes together. Liverpool fans have been saying it for years that it's going to happen. Um, but yeah, I mean, those are my three. I have Ipswich, I have Nottingham Forest, and I have Everton going down.
All right, I'm gonna go a little bit quicker because truthfully, it, as long as it's not Spurs, I don't give a fuck. Um, I agree. I think Ipswich is going down. I think it's hard to survive in the Premier League after getting promoted back to back years. I think um, I love them. I do think they'll go down, and I think they could come back up with a vengeance. 2 years. I think that they're an interesting team. I do, from what I've read, I feel like they would be a good team to be in the Premier League. But I can't see it happening. I think your luck's got to run it at some point. I mean, you saw it with Luton last year, their miracle story to get into the Premier League. Um, but you never know. I mean, possibly. I truthfully hope not. I really don't know why I like them so much, and I wouldn't say that I like them, but you know, it's just like a friend, like not like a love, like a kissing behind the playground type of like. Um, but so I think Ipswich is going to go down. Um, it, I think the rest of it is kind of. I think I know this is an unpopular opinion, and a lot of people are calling for them to stay up. I think Leicester's going to go down purely on the fact that they're up against some pretty hefty FFP penalties. I think
Yeah,
that it's one of those things where a newly promoted team coming up, no matter if they were just in the Premier League 2 seasons ago and got sent down. So I think it's going to be hard for them to overcome it. It's nothing against them as a squad. I think they have a pretty decent squad. I just think um, it's going to be hard for them to overcome that. So I can see that happening. And my unpopular opinion is I think that this could be Brentford's year. I was saying it towards the end of last season. It didn't end up happening, and I think that there were some points deductions to Everton and Forest that helped them a little bit look better in the standings. But I don't think they're a good ball club. I think
yeah,
they lost Neil Mape. He went back to Villarreal. They lost. I mean, obviously David Raya was gone last year for the full season. Shadow Baptiste is gone. Reguilon's gone. Um, I don't even know any other names on this list, but they brought in Julian Everstone or Eyestone, sorry, who uh, was a free transfer, I'm assuming, because they don't have another club coming back or coming from. And then Igor Tiago, who's good, but he's from Club Rouge, and you can't count on somebody from top tier Belgian thing. But those are the only two people that they brought in, and I think it's because I mean I don't know, FFP has everybody scared, but I could see it not happening. I don't really know who else, but I think if I had to lock in three answers, they'd be Ipswich, Leicester, and and Brentford, to be honest. So
yeah. All right, we'll move on to top six, and we'll just go quickly. I'll name them off
yeah,
because we do have to get wrapping up. This is a
yep,
lot longer than we thought.
yeah,
We
seriously. I was
uh,
thinking like 30 minutes max, bro.
yeah. So at six, I have United. Um, I think that I want to put them lower. A lot of people have them higher. I personally think that the people that they brought in will help. I think Lenny Euro, when he does get on the field, could be a big help for them. Um, from at least having my eyes on the team in preseason, even though we battered them, I think that the players that they have, watching Diallo take another step up, he looks like he's playing like another level. Um, I really think that this team, even if it was before, even more now, this team is Marcus Rashford's team through and through. It is such a a big step that he's taking now as a leader.
He didn't
And
take it
watch,
last year. He was
um,
that was the exact same narrative into last year, and he could not. He was hurt. I'm pretty sure he had a pretty. It was a pretty significant knock, but
It's a tough one.
it's
I just think that
I can't say I disagree with you, but I think I don't know. I think a lot of it hinges on him this year specifically.
this is the year that they need to. If they don't,
Absolutely.
then I mean, Ten Hag is gone. They're going to burn half of that team down, and people are
Hmm.
getting sold left and right. So I mean, it's either top six. I mean, that might not even be good enough to keep Ten Hag's job. To be honest with you, I mean, I think that top six would be a good fall for them. Truly, for the other
I
teams
agree.
that
Where
there
did they
are.
finish?
I
Seventh
think
last year? Was it? They finished.
last year,
Did they
let's
get?
see.
They finished above Chelsea, behind Spurs. I'm pretty sure. Um, and we finished fifth. So I think they got Europa League or Europa Conference.
Let's see. Premier League table. Last year they were eighth.
Holy shit! Really, I was really wrong. Who was behind Spurs in sixth?
You have Man City, Arsenal, Liverpool, Aston Villa, Tottenham, Chelsea, Newcastle, Man United.
Newcastle. I forget Newcastle's a squad half the time.
Um, okay, so
Yeah,
after United, I have Villa at five. I think they could be higher, but I think overall that team just hasn't the pieces that they lost. I think are going to end up being a big breaking point for them. I just think that it's going to be really tough for them to build that roster back up with what they need. Um, I have your squad at four. I have Tottenham coming in at four. I trust the process. I trust Ange. I think that the pieces that they brought in are going to be great. I know you're really big on Archie Gray. I think that he's going to be a great player,
I love Archie Gray.
playmaker, kind of things that they want.
Rejected into the
Um,
lanes.
I, you can call it what you want to call it. At three, I have Liverpool. I think that I think Arne Slot's system looks like it's going to fit our players very, very well. The players that Klopp had, it seems like he's unlocking. You're hearing Curtis Jones talking about the ease of playmaking that he feels like he has now. You're seeing a lot more of these guys start to show up more on the stat sheet. Jota's looked great. Diaz looks like he's running free up the wing. Mo looks like a whole different player. It comes down like always to defense for us. Um,
100%.
and I think that, the one signing that we didn't really even touch on was Zubamendi, that we're kind of looking into. And he's really close as of, the day that we're talking about this. It's sounding like this next week is going to be huge for us to move on him. And we got to get him in. But I just think that to put him in that position that Endo plays in currently is just adds so much quality to the team. If they play the way that I think that they are capable of, I think that top four is attainable for us. Um, I think that I'm leaving a lot of teams out in here that will have decent seasons, but you're looking at start to finish, who's going to start strong. I've seen Liverpool win every single game that they've played so far in the preseason, and they've looked good playing it. So I'm putting my eggs in the basket with my team. I trust them. Um, at two, drum roll, please. I have Manchester City.
Oh, you got.
I
Ooh,
think
okay.
that I
Okay.
think the team is good. I think that they still have the pieces to compete. I think it's going to be close. I just don't. I don't think that they have the same squad that they had last year. I think a lot of the fight in the team is going away. I hope so. I really, really, I would love to see some parity and not have them win again because it needs to happen. And as much as this pains me to say, I think that the team that I'm picking to win the league is much, much stronger than them. I think that the players that they have are just another level above what they have, and I'm picking Arsenal to win. Um, I
Okay.
think that I think that the squad is good. I think that Saka is great. I think that he's really going to have a year for them. And it's just all about building on what they did. They were so close 2 years ago and they choked it. Um, I think that this is the year that they need to win. It's win or bust for them. Um, so yeah, I have Arsenal rounding out my top six at one.
All right. I have Villa at 6. I think they regressed a little bit from their season last year. I think Douglas Luiz leaving hurts. I love Onana. I think he's a great player. I don't think that they have been able to fully improve the squad in comparison to last year. Um, that being said, I mean, Ollie Watkins is a monster. Um, you know who I really wanted to put here, Jake? You know who I
Mhm.
really wanted to put here? I really think a sleeper team on the year is going to be West Ham. I think
That
that
was one that I
very
sat there
real.
thinking about too.
It's very real, dude. They have had an absolutely incredible offseason. So we'll see. But I think I couldn't do it. Couldn't do it. So I think that I have I have Villa at 6. It's tough. It's really tough. I really don't know. Um, I currently have um, 3, 5, 4, and 3. I think could switch up in my mind at any moment. I think it just depends on who they bring in. Um, right now, I have Spurs at 5. I think they easily could be 3. I think they could be 4. I think they could be 5. I'm just being realistic. I think I love what we've done. I think our team is super, super duper young. Um, Solanke's great. I don't think he's going to change our team materially. I think that we're going to have good depth with him and Richie for Europa League, and I think we could make a push for the Europa League. I think that the time to focus on a Premier League title is probably not this season. I think that
I agree.
we give Ange the winter window. Hopefully we can get at least one more person in this window. Give Ange the winter window, and next summer I think next year we could be world beaters. Truthfully, we just need to show out, but we need people who want to be here. It's the one thing about Ange that I appreciate as a fan. Realistically, I'm not a big fan of, but he is very insistent that he's like, I want people who want to be at Spurs, and that was a big thing with Ivan Toney is I nobody doesn't want to be at Spurs. And I love that. I love the passion that those guys play with. I think that it severely limits who we go after, which is fine. And I think that we can make it happen. Like Leicester won the Premier League in 2016. It's possible. Um,
Crazier things have happened.
absolutely. But I do. I have us at 5, and like I said, 5, 4, and 3 could all be interchangeable at any point in time. At 4, I have Liverpool. And there's a caveat with this. I think that Liverpool has a great team. I think there's two problems that I have with Liverpool this season in winning the league and getting higher up. One, no transfers in. I mean, you're going into it with essentially the same exact team that you had last year. While you guys were great last year, um, compound that with a new coach. Like Slot's good. I'm sure he's going to be great for you guys, and have you guys playing some pretty attractive football. But I just think no transfers in a new coach in a new
We
system.
need
It's
defenders
it's tough. Like it's tough.
badly.
And even in my notes here, I said that this all changes if they can swing Zubamendi. If they do that, I think they can challenge for second or even the title. I think with Virgil and Zubamendi in the back, that significantly changes your chances. But I think as of right now, today, I don't. I have you guys at 4. This was a punt. I'm not gonna lie to you. This one's a punt. This is just pure gut feeling. I have Man United at 3. I think um, they're it's similar to you. You guys are a little bit more established. I feel like so. Like I said, 5 through 4, 5 through 3, interchangeable. Truthfully, it was
Mhm.
so hard for me to pick. I sat there for like 30 minutes. I literally my notes. I don't have anything at 3. My team's blank. Um, I I think that I like their squad. I think Kobe Manu is going to go crazy. I think Rashford steps. I truthfully do. I just have a feeling Rashford's going to step it up and lead the team. Um, I think I was a big fan of the Hoyland signing when it happened. He was injured for a lot of the year and just didn't look all that great last season. But I think we get a full year into Ten Hag. Um, well, this is his second or third year actually, but with Hoyland under Ten Hag, I think that they have. I have a there's a stat that I screenshotted the other day that the top Golden Boy benchmark index, and it just lists the top 10 Golden Boys in Europe. Three of them are on Manchester United. You have um, Ganacho, who I think is a great player. I mean, he played well for them last year. They have Lenny Euro. I think he's a great player. He's still super duper young, but and I don't think he's going to be much of a factor this year. But he's a great player. And Kobe Manu, and Kobe Manu looked great in the Euros for Europe. He was arguably one of their best players as a fucking what is he like less than 20? I think he's 18.
Yeah.
Um, I think that I could see them making a push for the title. The top two were also proved very hard. I switched them truthfully, partially out of fandom and partially because um, we had at number two I have Arsenal. I think they come up short again this year. I don't think it's truthfully at any fault to them. I think they're a great squad. Their addition of what's his name? I have it in my notes. Ricardo Calafari. I think he is a great defender. I think he's going to. I think he significantly improved that team. He looked great in the Euros as well. He's probably one of the best players, best defenders, other than Saliba, obviously, who's also on our team. I think that I think he's going to make them a very good squad, and it's going to be tough. I can see them getting first. I can see them winning it. The reason I have City at one is it's City. I mean, like let's be honest. Like they have their squad depth. I was looking at their squad, and yeah, Julian Alvarez left. That sucks. They still have Holland. They still have KDB. They still have Phil Foden. They still have Jeremy Doku, who I am. I don't know why. I love Phil Foden and Jeremy Doku. I do not know why. I cannot tell you why. I mean, Phil Foden, I had him in fantasy last year, so he like got me a lot of points, which I love.
They're exciting players to
They're
watch.
so exciting, and
They are.
KDB, like if he leaves, like obviously they're probably probably put him down to third. Um, he's that important to that team, I truly believe. But I just think from everything that I've heard so far that's come out, I don't think he's leaving this year. Probably next year. But I also, Pep's kind of hinted at it, kind of not. You never really know with him. He's kind of an anomaly, but I
I
think
think that this is the
there's
last ride.
it's giving me last ride vibes, and I think that they're gonna play for him, and that's truthfully like bottom line. That's why I think that they're gonna win. I think they win the title
Yeah.
this year again, and I think he fucks off into retirement in club, and I'm
Let's
excited
hope.
for it. So
Yeah.
yeah, that's my top six.
All right.
Tough,
Well,
it's
we
tough.
went a little bit over what we were thinking today for kind of our first episode, but we're gonna be making a lot of content coming up here,
Yeah, plan
talking
is
about a lot of the
at
games that are
least
going
once a
on.
week. Um,
Um, so
we'll see
you'll
how
hear
it
a lot
goes.
more of us here,
Yep, absolutely.
and we're really looking forward to hopefully building a community with this. We would love for people to come and join along with us with this and listen to the stuff that we're saying. But overall, I love sitting here and talking to my best friend about something that we love. So we'll continue doing this. We'll continue talking. We'll continue, being our authentic selves and just trying to give you guys some good content. But we at least hope that you enjoyed the rough first version of this, and we'll look back on this in a few months and see how much we've grown on all the stuff that we're able to do, and our first recording of me spending an extra 30 minutes trying to set everything up on the computer. That'll be
It was close.
something to
I was getting nervous. I thought you were about to come over
something
here, to be
to
honest.
joke about here when we get a little bit better into this, but we at least appreciate everyone coming along with us on the first one through this, and here's to many more. For the shirt forever.
For the shirt forever, baby. Thanks for
Yes,
joining in.
sir.
Cheers.
I did.